So when we're thinking about adopting what I would call a living pace for life, one where we have a sense that we're in a generative flow, that we are, whichever angle we turn and face, ready to meet that moment with an aptitude and a preparedness to bring or to facilitate or um, to build more life into the life that we encounter there. That requires a kind of intentionality where I don't think of my life as something merely to occupy for my own sake, for my own enjoyment. That won't sustain me into forms of fulfillment or capacitation to be much of a blessing to anybody around me, to serve them well. That's all I mean by blessing there. What I'm going to need is a rule for life. Life is too big to leave to its own devices. There are too many moving parts, and really the function of the will in human life is to orient the person to a host of activities, we might call them disciplines, that can allow for as much positive engagement with what we face as absolutely possible. This rule for life, it can be a tricky term to use, but the ancient term for this has been spiritual disciplines. And what do we mean by the term spiritual? Well, your spiritual life is the story that you're inhabiting. Hey, it is the thoughts you have about the you that you are as it's moving through time and moving through relationships with everybody else that you encounter. And the quality of that life is all the things we've been mentioning before. What kind of character is it taking on? Is it disposed to virtue? Is it aiming at treating others in the way that it would like to be treated? Is it prepared to do what love invites and refuse what fear demands? And none of that happens by accident. And so a gentle pace to my work and to my life would be to say, well, first I got to figure out what a human being is. And I learned that a human being, for example, is not merely an animal, but is a moral agent in the world that has a will. So that will and that moral agency are probably something I'm going to have to take care of, take responsibility for. Can I do that all on my own? No, probably not. So I'm going to have to align myself with and resource myself or come into connection with sources of virtue, authorities on virtue, etc. And against that backdrop about what the virtues have to say about what a good life is, then I'm going to start conditioning my life. And that means how I treat my body. That means what I consume mentally and physically and spiritually. That means the kinds of relationships I keep. That means the flow of inputs and outputs. That also means my why inside of the work that I'm doing. And a lot of people don't have a clarified why inside of the work that they're doing. So bringing all of that into conscious awareness and then submitting it into a grid of evaluation that isn't just my own devising, because it won't take too long before I get twisted up there. I'm going to have to go beyond my little mind and heart into matters that have proved themselves trustworthy over time. And those sources do exist. They are the Holy Scriptures. They are the great works of literature. They are the historical artifacts that show up in new institutional forms as responses to great oppression, etc. The abolitionist movement in the United States is a great example of a forward movement in humanity that finally said slavery is a violation of human rights and human goods. No one person came up with that. And so we're going to have to go beyond the self into modes of investigation and study that can serve my character as it's being formed. And then I deploy that into all of the domains of my life, my work, my relationships, my spousal dyad, if I'm in that scenario, my parenting, my community involvement, etc. That's what we mean by living pace. And a gentle way to inhabit my work is not to show up there by accident. It's to have instances where I pause long enough to evaluate what's happening to me and from me to others.